Welcome back to this second part of News Center right here on KTN News, and thank you so much for staying with us. As promised, I have that conversation with the leadership from the Kenya Scouts Association, and this comes at the backdrop of the Kenya Scouts Association hosting the first Africa Rover Moot from the 15th to 25th of April 2023. And over 30 countries from Africa and the globe will be attending the event that will see young people engage, share ideas on global concerns, and innovate solutions to these. Kenya is actually the first country to host such an event, with 1,000 youth expected to participate. And I'm joined by the leadership of the Kenya Scouts Association. To my immediate left is Elizabeth Nyaberi, National Youth Representative, Kenya Scouts Association. And far left, the gentleman is Anthony Gitonga, an International Commissioner with the Kenya Scouts Association. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you for having us.
Brilliant. First of all, I will begin with your look this morning. You know, it is, for those of us who have memories about Scouts, because when you mentioned Scouts, even earlier on during the break, my colleagues and I were discussing, you know, the different colors that used to be adorned by members of the Scouts. What is it that you're wearing today? And perhaps if you could define, because I see there it's quite different from what Anthony has.
Okay, so whatever I'm wearing is the Land Scout uniform, which is the official Scout uniform of the Kenya Scouts Association. And the badges are different because I'm a Rover Scout. Anthony is an International Commissioner. But we have 4 sections in Scouting. That is the Sungura section that I think most people relate with. Sungura, Chipukizi in primary school, going to Mwamba Scouts in high school. And then now there's the Rover section, which is for Scouts between the age of 18 to 26 years. And we all have sectional colors. The Sungura Scouts, yellow, Chipukizi Scouts, green. For the Mwamba Scouts, it's maroon, and then for the Rover Scouts, it's orange.
When you say Rover, what does that mean?
Okay, so a Rover Scout is any Scout between the age of 18 and 26 years. And for the Rover Scout, their program is quite different from the junior sections, because under the Rover section, we are trained to go back to our communities and provide service, and also come up with ideas and concepts that are going to impact our communities in one way or another, depending with the issues that we face in our different communities. So in the Rover section, we have a whole program, a whole handbook that has a progressive scheme that we use to go through our program. And by the time you're 26, you should have attained your highest badge, which is the Chief Scout Award that is given by the patron, who is the president.
Anthony, your badges are quite a number of them. What do they stand for?
Thank you so much. So Elizabeth has really explained about the Scouting. And Scouting, the young people who are playing the game are between the ages of 6 and 26, and they go through a progressive scheme under 4 sections, just like she's explained. But now above 26, you become a volunteer, you become a leader. Just like me, for example, serving as a national volunteer, you know. So the different badges you see are the different trainings I've gone through as a leader, the different awards and medals that I've also received, you know, courtesy of the different activities, the different trainings that I've also had with the young people. And that is why you see the badges I have is not what Elizabeth has. So the distinction is between the Scouts. They have a particular progressive scheme. And then above 26, then you become a Scout leader, you become a commissioner, you become a volunteer. And there is also a very good detailed way on how to progress in terms of leadership. You start with introductory training course, you go to preliminary, you go to what is called the Wood Badge, until you get what is called the PhD of Scouting, the LT, the 4 bids, like you'll see myself with the 4 bids. So that means that I've really gone through the different training sections to the highest. Yes.
A good number of Kenyans will perhaps relate the Scout movement, the Kenya Scouts Association, to the parades whenever they have the national events. I mean, when you see the Scouts, you know, join the parades after the members of the disciplined forces. But behind the scenes, what really happens? If you could take us, I mean, whereas Elizabeth has mentioned what happens, but perhaps in detail, because not much is known about you know, Scouts after one leaves school per se. But you were mentioning earlier on while we were off air that I can actually also join the Scouts Association. If you could explain that for us, please.
So we have what is called the youth program, which is the totality of exactly everything that the Scouts do. So it's not just about marching and raising the flag. It's a holistic program that aims to really impart the Scouts as young people in their formative stages. We're talking about, socio, intellectual, emotional dimensions that really help a young person to be an all-rounded person and a responsible citizen when they come out to the world. And that is why then the Rover section is very critical past 18, all right? Because this is where we have the young people in colleges, in higher learning institutions, and the Rover program, which is part of the youth program, trains them on various dimensions, responsible citizenship, corporate governance, how to take care of environment, how to be a good leader, how to be responsible also in your personal life. So the program is quite detailed. There's quite a lot that happens, and anybody can be a scout. If you're already between ages 6 and 26, like we were saying, you can get into the game of scouting, either as Sungura Scout, and that is 6 to 11, or Chipukizi, 12 to 15, or Mwamba, 15 to 18, or then Rover, 18 to 26. But above that, then you can become a volunteer, And we are saying that, for example, Kenya Scouts is the largest youth organization, not just in Kenya, but also in Africa, with a membership of 2.1 million young people and more than 40,000 adults who are volunteers. And we are looking for anybody who can come in and contribute to the development of young people by offering their services through expertise, through experience, through time. And that is why we're having that conversation earlier, that you, for example, could come in, as a media professional, as a journalist, and say, I want to sacrifice some time. I want to see how I can support the communication strategy of the Kenya Scouts Association. How different volunteers can come in and say, I want to serve, I want to bring in my expert team, because it's really a voluntary, open movement for young people supported by the adults.
Okay. Yeah. And talking about the focus of this conversation, that is discipline through action, and the Rover section is what from what I've gathered is what is sort of the detailed part of it, really, because of the age that is involved, the young people. When you look at the youth, the youth demographics right now, and the benefits of Scout, whereas there could be the quote-unquote mandatory or influential membership that is through high school. Talk to us about, Elizabeth, how this, apart from joining it through school, the benefits that come afterwards, because after school there is also the other advanced tertiary education, all the way up to past 26. What are some of the benefits that come in when someone says they're a member of the Scouts Association?
Okay, so I'd give a few, and I'll start from the transition from high school to tertiary institution. At times that's where we have hiccup, because there's some people who practice scouting in high school and they don't transit that well to tertiary institutions, or maybe they just go and do other things, or maybe in colleges they don't, maybe when they get into those tertiary institutions they don't get crews that are established, because in scouting we work in patrol system, so we have troops in the institution that are a group of scouts, and then they're subdivided into patrols. So if you get into an institution and maybe they don't have a developed scout group, at times it's hard for you to know where to fit in. But like myself, I did my undergraduate in JKUAT, Karen campus. There was no crew there, but I was able to still do my rovering in campus, because I just looked around and thought maybe KU can work for me. And so I joined Kenyatta University Scouts. And through whatever we are trained in scouting and through the Rover section, you get to meet different people, get to network, you get to learn from each other, you get to learn skills that will help you to build your confidence to be a good leader. And that is what has built me and helped me to reach where I am at the moment. And also being a national leader, that is one thing, because scouting gives you an opportunity to serve. Maybe out there you might never get another opportunity to become a leader somewhere, but in scouting everyone is a leader, and we are all trained to become leaders. And through that, from here you're able to venture into different spaces. We have different partners that come in to support Rover projects, and through that you can also get to maybe get an internship or get into some different field. And you get to learn all these in scouting. And mostly for 18 to 26, Kenya Scouts Association has molded young people to be people who are outright to the community and people who stand out for the right thing, young people who are transparent and accountable for themselves and even for the people that they live with around.
Yeah. And at a time when parents sort of are wondering, especially, we are headed into the holidays right now. There's so much that could be anticipated. They came from another long holiday over the Christmas break, the December break. At a time when parents, sort of at times wonder what to do or, what activities to engage, how then can a parent even reach out to the Kenya Scouts Association, Anthony, to be able to have, even if it's settlements, or rather in, settlements like Nairobi, either through an estate or, residential areas, how do they then continue with these scouts spirit and motivation to their children?
Thank you so much for that very good question. Let me take you back first to discipline, because discipline is critical. And for us to be able to really understand how we address discipline, we need to understand the science of discipline and indiscipline, and especially among young people. So if you look at the main causes of indiscipline, one is ineffective leadership, the absence of a code of conduct, and a communication breakdown. Then once you understand this, then you're able to see how scouting comes in to respond and to be able to provide a solution. So we have what is called the scout method. The scout method, for example, talks about the law and the promise. The law is about you committing to do your duty, to be honest, to do your duty to God and to your country. The Scout fundamental principles also, the salute, like we say, is duty to God, duty to others, and duty to self. And of course also the Scout law, which is in 10 articles. You understand that the Scout's honor is to be trusted. So once you are trained on all these dimensions, then you will see how Scouting comes in to respond to discipline and to impact discipline to young people, because then we train them to be responsible. We engage them, we train them to be leaders, and this is actually what we would also tell the parents, all right? Engage your children, listen to them, ensure that there is communication between yourselves and them, because then you're able to understand the root cause of whatever indiscipline that could be coming. Once you understand that, then you're able to come up with solutions that mitigate that, all right? Now coming to what Kenya Scouts Association is doing is that one, we provide safe spaces for these young people to come and have conversations about mental health, about reproductive health, about environment, the safe spaces, the camps, the training centers, and we have these in plenty across the country. And some of these we don't even charge, just come in and have conversations. We have our volunteer leaders who are in these campsites. We have our trainers who are in these particular training centers who just want to have a conversation with you. So what we would also advocate is to the parents, allow your children to join Scouting. Trust that Scouting has got the responsibility to train them and to equip them with the skills, the knowledge and the attitude to be responsible citizens. So it's really a holistic program, if you look at it, that responds to the needs and aspirations of young people.
It's, sounding, Elizabeth, it's sounding, if you were to ideally go through the processes and the stages, especially in the Rover section that is of interest because of the young people, you would come out as a holistic leader, as a holistic Kenyan that is admirable to the society. But what are some of the challenges that exist in terms of even getting young people to either enroll or even during the training or rather during the programs? What are some of the issues that you identify from the Kenya Scouts Association that are key, in whichever demographics or whichever region of the country that they are in?
Okay, so these are just basic challenges that young people go through. And Anthony has talked about the issues of mental health, and Kenya Scouts providing a safe space for young people to just speak out their issues, express what they feel is not going on right, maybe in the country, and then by themselves come up with initiatives that can counter that, and that can counter whatever issue they face in their communities. I've actually gone through the 4 sections of Scouting. I was a Sungura Scout back in my younger age. I have gone through Chipukizi, I've gone through the Mwamba section, and now as a Rover Scout, I'm able to understand that a young person, actually it's very mandatory for a young person to go through these 4 stages, because at least they get to understand a few issues that the community is facing, and you're able to now view the community in a different way. Because again, the other problem that we have as as youth in our country is that maybe some people are not so sensitive, or they just are enclosed, or maybe they just want to deal with specific issues, maybe if it's school or if it's just your work or all that. But as a scout now, you're able to open your eyes and now go back to your community and serve your community. And I'd say for joining scouting, there is no issue that I have seen so far. There is no issue that has been reported, because you just join scouting at the crew level. So it's easy to join if you're in a crew setup. And also, these crews are not only in tertiary institutions. Even in our communities, we have crews that are called open crews. The ones in the institutions are called, institutional crews, and then we have some that are from the community. So scouts can still join scouting, rovers can still join scouting through the open troops in their communities.
As we bring the conversation to a close, Anthony, this rover moot that is happening 15th to 25th, for whoever would be following and would be interested in knowing what is it about, if you could debunk that for us.
All right. So the rover moot is a gathering for rover scouts. Between age 18 and 26, they come together in a 10-day program, in a camp setting, to be able to learn from each other, to be able to go through a very dynamic program that exposes them to, off-site and on-site activities, to be able to learn, to be able to have fun. So this is the first time. So this is big for us as Kenya Scouts Association, because it's the first time that this event is happening. So we have national moots and we have international moots. And Kenya in 2010 also hosted an international moot. But this is the first time that we are bringing young people from Africa together in Nairobi, more than 1,000, to be able to exchange ideas, to be able to learn from each other, like I've said. And the program is actually founded on four main pillars, and this is adventure. So we'll have all these young people get to, explore and visit different parts of our country. We're talking about innovation. In fact, the theme for this particular rover moot is innovating the next steps. What are we doing, and how is scouting responding to innovation as a platform to be able to, to invent new ideas, to incubate new ideas? The other dimension is also, of course, about environment, tree planting, taking care of environment, and of course, fun and sports. So all these really contribute to the program, and we're excited that this is beginning actually on Sunday. We have participants from 34 countries arriving in Nairobi from tomorrow all the way to Saturday, and we'll have them in Nairobi, we'll have them visit our town, go to Nyeri. I must also really emphasize that Nyeri is very special when it comes to scouting. The founder of scouting, Lord Baden-Powell, who died in 1941, actually in his very 3 last years lived in Nyeri at a place called Paxtu. He died in Nyeri and is buried also in Nyeri town at the Commonwealth grave. So that really gives us a very special place in scouting, because you can imagine that for the more than 15 million scouts all over the world, in more than 200 countries and territories, one of their single biggest dreams is to visit Nyeri, because that is where they would want to come and have a reflection and see where the founder is buried and get to really experience firsthand the life that BP Baden-Powell really lived. So this is big for us. We are looking forward to really deliver a dynamic program hosting more than 1,000 young people from 34 countries in a beautiful, beautiful exchange program.
And in school, everyone looked forward to that trip. Let's go to the closing remarks. I'll begin with you, Elizabeth. What would you like to tell the young people and the parents?
Okay, I'd really emphasize that parents should support their young people to get into scouting, because scouting molds you in a certain way that I can't even explain in detail. My dad pushed me. Actually, I inquired for my dad when I was young. I was around 6. I inquired from him. I thought scouting was a military for young children then, because of the uniform, and I loved uniformed organizations. And so my dad told me there are scouts and you can start it in your school. And that's how I picked from there. And through that, I've gone through the whole program, and it has been a lot of fun, a lot of interest. It has been interesting. I have been able to network and meet so many young people and leaders from all over the world. I have mentors in scouting, and that's why it's easy for me to tackle issues that maybe I could not be able to tackle at this point. So I'd urge parents to allow the young people or their children to join scouting.
30 seconds, Anthony.
Absolutely. If there is any young person out there who is looking for an opportunity to grow, to become a leader, then scouting is your stuff. Scouting is your thing. I look back for myself, for example, the first time I boarded a plane, the first time I shook a president's hand, the first time I visited various leaders was because of scouting. So scouting is all about leadership, is all about growth, and I would advise all young people, please, without any hesitation, join scouting and you will never regret.
Thank you so much indeed. I've been speaking to Anthony Gitonga, International Commissioner, Kenya Scouts Association, and Elizabeth Nyaberi, National Youth Representative from the Kenyan Scouts Association, debunking leadership discipline through action. Thank you so much for making time for us on KTN News. Now, the Chief Justice Martha Koome is presiding over the inaugural banking industry mediation conference.